Hello everybody. Today we are going to be talking about the philosophical topic called to be the best attacker, you need to be a best defender. So I have with me Coach Kaleem, John, Coach Shayan, and myself, Shifu Umar. And we'll be starting this podcast by asking the question to John. So John, what are your thoughts about to be a great attacker, you have to be a good defender?
I think that just comes down to the concept of attack is the best form of defence. I mean, it's not just in martial arts. You hear it used in football a lot, and I think when you put yourself forward as attack, I suppose if you need to take out your opponent first before they have a chance to get the attack. So, in a sense, yes, that is an ironic form of defending yourself by attacking. I guess that's one way of looking at it.
Attacking is important, but my question here is in order to become a good attacker, like imagine you had a football attacker, or anyone attacking, like in martial arts, to attack, is that, how can you get to that level of attack? How can you be a good attacker? That is the question. My saying is, and this is the reason why we're recording, is my understanding and my philosophy on this side of the story is, in order to be a good attacker, you need to be learning the defense first. Yep. So if you learn how to defend yourself from a situation, then you can become a good attacker. But a person who might think he or she is a really good attacker because they can go and hit and break bones, and they're not good defenders, then to myself, I do not acknowledge them as good martial artists, because in a way they might be able to attack, but if you can't defend, then that tells me that your skills have not been polished up. That tells me that you do not have the ability to defend, and because you don't have the ability to defend, how can you attack?
True.
That is the thing we're talking about here. So,
Yes, I guess that when you are defending, you are essentially working out your opponent, working out how they fight. So you're not just jumping in with an attack, because therefore you might leave yourself open to weakness. And sometimes I guess it's a game of patience and assessing your opponent before you then make an attack. I guess that is a form of defense, is patience.
Yeah, I mean, we generally hear people say, "Oh, I can really attack well. I can really hit it. I'm a good fighter." When we hear those kind of things in our daily life, my thinking, my thought process will take me back and be like, "Hang on a minute. I mean, if you can attack, how can you attack if you cannot defend?" Some people have that excuse saying like, "Oh, my defense is weak, but I'm a great attacker." Now, my question goes back to this: is like, can you be a good attacker if you do not know the defense at all? And as martial artist, as Shaolin Kung Fu teacher or a coach, my understanding and my teachings will be that work on your defense. Because if you are a solid defender, then you will be a great attacker, because then you can anticipate, you can work out against each move a person does. And if you can't work out, if you cannot unlock the moves when you're fighting against an opponent, then how can you then attack? All right? The basic understanding is you will not be able to achieve your attacks if you are not understanding or identifying your opponent's weaknesses.
Also, talking about that, as I've sparred before in the past, in my opinion, you will never know how to defend unless you know how to attack, because if you know how a punch is being thrown, then you know how to defend it yourself. Mainly, that's what I believe in. Then also, it goes to the point as well, you need to know how to defend to win a fight, because anyone can throw punches, anyone can kick. But what would you do if someone blocks you, puts you in a position that you haven't trained?
So are you saying, Sean, if I stop you there, are you saying that you can be an attacker without learning the defense?
What I'm trying to say is, if you know how to attack, it will help you in defending yourself, because we can talk about other sports, talking about cricket, talking about anything. If you know how, as a bowler, if you know how to bowl an in-swing, in your mind, you know how to defend, but you need to practice on it. So again, it goes to the point that you need to defend. You need to learn to defend.
So your point you're making here is totally opposite to what generally my concept is, which is fine, because we're thinkers. We're here to actually draw the conclusions to see, what the mindsets are talking about and how we can conclude to the point. Now, what you're saying to me that if you don't know the attacking, then you can't learn how to defend. That's definitely something we agree with. However, you guys don't stop here. You guys need to think one step ahead, which is what? You might be a good attacker. You might be a perfect attacker, right? And then you're saying your defense will become good, because then you'll be able to work on the weaknesses, etc., etc.
If you work on it.
Yes. But my understanding, my theory will be, if you become a very good defender, you cannot become a good defender if you're not a great fighter. So you need to work on your defense at all times. Whereas attacking is something we can, of course, we're not saying let it go, work on your attack, but if you can start working more on the defense side of it, then automatically your attack will become good, because one, you'll have more confidence. Second, you'll be able to understand. And I believe that it's difficult to be a defender than to be an attacker. Because as an attacker, you're throwing, you're successful, you succeed in your aims and objectives. You can kick very sharp, you can kick very quickly, you can punch and knock out people. But if you get hit back from the guy, would you be able to defend in a positive way? Now, if you can't do that, then you'll always be low in confidence. You'll always have understanding in your mind that you're not good enough. And what that understanding takes you is, it takes you to a failure in your life. And the second side of that thought process is, if you are a really good defender, then you need to be a good attacker. So you can't say that you're a good defender, but you can't attack. So you could be a great defender, that will make you a great fighter, great attacker. Why? Because then you understand how to overcome the weaknesses. You understand what weaknesses a person can possess. Whereas as an attacker, you won't be able to identify. So it's like, they're two different fields. One is like a learner, a researcher is a defender. And an experimenter is an attacker, right? So see that way. So a person who experiments has got that knowledge, and they're just going and experimenting. Whereas a person who's a researcher, they're looking into the knowledge and they're still finding out ways how to undo or do things. So in reality, as a martial art, my conclusion will be that if you are a great defender, that makes you a great attacker. But learning martial arts with the concept of just attacking and not learning the defense makes you an incomplete martial artist. Whereas if your defense is stronger, then of course it opens up more ways for you to think, and it makes you stronger and more effective at your fighting skills. Now, is there anything, Kaleem, you would like to add? And of course, we don't have to agree with each other on here. This is a forum where we discuss our abilities, and no one is superior than the others, because we need to make sure we learn something from someone. And if it's something to be the truth, then we, and I would also like to ask our viewers who are watching to ask us questions and to disagree with us, but with a beautiful way, in a respectful manner. So we can decide and discuss and appreciate and improve on what we're doing and talking about here. So go on, Kaleem, it's your turn.
I'd like to talk about fighting in reality. When a person learns martial arts, doesn't matter how many techniques, skills you learn, hundreds, thousands, whatever, at the end of the day, if you don't spar, you're not going to actually gain confidence of learning how to fight.
That's really good.
That's one thing I would like to say, because a person, like I said, could learn a lot of techniques, but then in reality, if you go in the streets and someone attacks you,
which we are, funny enough, when you talk from experience, because you've been attacked in the street and you did a really good job. So, appreciate you.
And what sparring does, even though sparring isn't fighting self-defense, you're practicing how to fight. Sparring gains you more confidence.
It does.
It lets your fear out slowly more. If you keep doing this, let's say even once a week is something consistent, after several months, you gain more and more confident.
Of course,
how to defend yourself in reality. So a person who has been, let's say, consistently sparring versus a person who hasn't been sparring. Let's suppose both of these people, and they're learning the same things, but one isn't sparring, and they both in reality go in the street and have to defend themselves. The one who has consistently sparred is going to get more confident.
Of course.
Have left a lot of fear.
Because fear is gone.
That's why you see a lot of people who are professional fighters don't have fear, because they're experienced in fighting. So that's basically, it's a summary in conclusion. What I'm trying to say is, sparring, in order for you to be a true martial artist,
is crucial.
I take that point, and I think we all appreciate that point. But if you need to connect that to, for example, defending or attacking, and as we know, to be able to have no fear, you need to be very strong. So if someone strikes you or something not expected, then you're almost like ready to respond, right? But if you're not ready to respond, then you always have that fear in your mind, thinking, oh, you're not a complete martial artist. Going out on the streets, something we'll talk about in the future as well. Of course, a separate podcast will be recorded for street fighting and combat. But today it was generally about you cannot be a great attacker if you're not a good defender. And that's the theory which we presented. So thank you very much for your time, Kaleem, John and Shayan. We'll talk more about these aspects in the coming days. But viewers, thank you very much for your time and have a great day. Wish you.